Ex-Obama staffer blows whistle on Biden kickback scheme after Hunter joined Burisma. And do we have U.S. troops fighting in Ukraine right now? I feel like the military-industrial complex is not being truthful with the American people, and we're going to call these people out on all their lies. So that's what we're going to talk about on today's episode, and let's do this.
You're listening to the Steven Tauriello Show, building a platform of liberty for people in search of truth with a dash of hope and a life worth living. The Steven Tauriello Show. And you never know where Steven may go. And now, here's Steven.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. And folks, last night after doing the show, I had to reread the article that I read to you last night. One of the articles we did a show about, and the article was about the kid, essentially, that guy being arrested for the documents he leaked. Well, after doing the story, I started thinking that everybody is completely missing the main story here. This is crazy, and there's no way I can be the only one that's noticed this. So the story is not how the guy leaked the documents. The story is the documents. It's what's in the documents is the story. Folks, we have U.S. troops in Ukraine. And I was mind blown. You can hear it. If you listen to yesterday's episode, you can hear me reading the article. And I don't know how it got past me the first time because I always pre-read the articles before I do the show. And so it must have got by me somehow. But as I was doing the show, I read that we have U.S. troops in Ukraine was on one of the documents. Folks, we're not supposed to have troops in Ukraine. That is the story. The military-industrial complex is trying to cover this up. They are trying to divert people's attention. That's why you have Joe Biden up on stage in Ireland saying it's not a big deal that these documents leaked. It is a big deal, folks. They are trying to divert the American people. They are lying to you. They are lying to all of us. This is no longer a proxy war. You have an administration and a military-industrial complex unilaterally fighting a war that has not been approved by Congress. Congress has not declared war. So why do we have troops over there dying? Okay, this is a big problem. And I don't see any of the left-wing media talking about this because they know it's damaging to Joe Biden. That's why. And that brings me to my another point. Is this ex-Obama staffer that blows the whistle on the Biden kickback scheme. So there's a former White House stenographer. His name is Mike McCormick, and he pushes to testify under oath in the Hunter Biden grand jury case after sending the tip to the FBI. So this is crazy because this guy essentially comes out of nowhere. I read his Substack. He's been on this for quite a while. And just now has he really come to light and started doing interviews on Fox News. Guess what, folks? No other media outlet is covering this whatsoever. Not even a word about this guy coming out and saying he witnessed Joe Biden commit a crime. He is the eyewitness. None of this hearsay, none of this she said that he said. No, he is the witness. He's a freaking stenographer. He typed the crime down on transcripts, White House transcripts. So this is a crazy story too. Folks, it is no doubt that we have a media that is completely complicit in all this stuff. History is going to judge these people very, very harshly. 100 years from now, 150 years from now, maybe even 50 years from now. The media, our left-wing media, the propaganda Pravda outlets, they are going to be judged by history very harshly. They are complicit in the downfall of this nation by not reporting on the truth. These people refuse to report on anything that is damaging to Joe Biden. Well, guess what, folks? When you have a president that is on a one-way street to hell, he is bringing this country down in a frickin' ball of flames. The news is going to have to report on something. And that is why I think the Trump indictment is a distraction. I've said that from day one. This Trump indictment, this Alvin Bragg, this Soros-funded attorney, is a giant distraction. That is on purpose. This is all a game, folks. This entire thing. If you really pay attention, they are trying this massive scheme to divert America's attention off the failures of this administration and off the failures of the military-industrial complex. Not just the failures, but now the crimes. Now the leftist media is complicit. They are almost aiding and abetting Joe Biden and his crimes by not reporting on it. It's the same thing they did in the Hunter Biden laptop story. They just didn't report on it. But even on the Hunter Biden laptop story, at least they kind of made a few comments about it, enough to even say that it's Russian disinformation, but at least they acknowledged it. They're not acknowledging this at all, folks. 0.0 time was spent on talking about this eyewitness to Joe Biden committing a crime. So what is that crime? Well, I have Mike McCormick here on an audio clip, and I'm going to play it. It's a little bit long. I tried to cut it up as much as I can to shorten it up. But folks, you have to listen to the entire thing to actually know what's going on and to see what this guy's saying. So just hang in there. We're going to listen to this, and he explains it perfect. Here we go.
Meantime, a former Obama White House official says he wants to testify to a federal grand jury because he says he has information about then Vice President Joe Biden's role in his son Hunter's business. But he says the FBI has been ignoring him.
Former Obama stenographer Mike McCormick joins us now. Mike, thanks for being here. You say you are a witness to a crime. Walk us through why you say that.
Yes. Hi, Ashley. Hi, Todd. Thanks for having me.
Sure.
So in April 2014, I was in Air Force Two with Joe Biden and Jake Sullivan. At the time, no one knew that Hunter Biden was already on the board of Burisma Holdings, the natural gas conglomerate from Ukraine. Joe Biden is directing Jake Sullivan in the front of the plane what to say to the press. My job as a stenographer on the plane is to record what the vice president or a senior administration official says to the press. So I'm sitting back there with a tape recorder. Jake Sullivan comes back and somebody asks him about fracking. His answer is, well, we're bringing a lot of American assistance over for fracking. Burisma was the direct beneficiary of that fracking. And that's what I recorded. And that's in a White House transcript. In the transcript, you don't know who Jake Sullivan is. It's a senior administration official. I'm the witness that says Jake Sullivan is the guy who said it, and he should be investigated because at the time, Hunter Biden was on the board of Burisma, and Joe Biden is bringing American taxpayer money to enrich that company and himself and his family.
Yeah, Mike, let me throw in a few dates here. Hunter joins the Burisma board April 18th, 2014. You have that conversation with Jake Sullivan April 21st, 2014, outlining how the U.S. would help Ukraine's gas industry with Joe Biden's help. Hunter's role not made public till May 12th, 2014. And then in December of that year, Congress approves $50 million to support Ukraine's energy sector. Ashley.
You know, Mike, my biggest question is, you said the FBI has been ignoring you. It's no secret right now that people don't have a lot of faith in the FBI. Would you tell them, and what did they say back to you?
Well, that's a great question, Ashley. I came across this story back in October. I published it in my Substack. My Substack is Midnight in the Laptop of Good and Evil. I didn't hear much about it. In February, I went to the FBI and filed one of their tips on their website. If you do that and you're lying to them, you go to jail. I'm not lying. I'm telling the truth, and I'm not going to jail. Joe Biden is a criminal. He was conducting malfeasance in office to enrich his family. Jake Sullivan is a conspirator in that, and there's more Obama officials involved in it, I believe.
So you are willing to go under oath to state that you are certain that this was a kickback scheme that Joe Biden was orchestrating, correct?
Correct. There's a grand jury right now in Wilmington, Delaware. They've been seated for 3 years with a special prosecutor named David Weiss. If David Weiss can't have me in front of his grand jury explaining what I know as a witness, That's a fraudulent grand jury. It's a fraudulent use of the American judicial system to cover for Barack Obama and Joe Biden's crimes in office.
You know, with everything you've said, do you think...
Folks, get this. This is the key. This man just said he is willing to go under oath to say that Joe Biden and Sullivan committed a crime. Okay, he's not saying he's willing to go under oath to testify he's seen a crime or what he thinks to be a crime or an alleged crime. This man is saying he's willing to go under oath to say that he witnessed Joe Biden commit a crime, a kickback scheme. This is huge. And now we know why all the media outlets are not reporting on this. Because, ladies and gentlemen, you cannot hide this anymore. For the last 6 months, we have went from the Hunter Biden laptop and Joe Biden doesn't know anything about his son's business deals, to now Joe Biden was involved in his son's business deals, but you can't prove it. This is how far we've come, folks. They have drugged this nation through the crapper over Donald Trump and his alleged crimes. You have this man and his family getting kickback schemes from our foreign nuclear adversaries, and he is walking. They are in Ireland right now with Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden is with his dad in Ireland, shaking hands with foreign leaders. What is going on here, folks? This is insane. So this guy needs to absolutely go and testify somewhere, somehow, some way. And you know what? The leftist media is going to have to cover this, folks. There's no getting around this. If this man is saying that he's willing to go under oath to say that he witnessed Joe Biden commit a crime with Sullivan, then, ladies and gentlemen, there is no getting away with this. I'm going to go ahead and finish the rest of the audio so you can hear what else he has to say. It's almost done.
By you testifying, this would change this narrative. And I mean, frankly, a lot of us have already, we have thought this for a long time. We've always said it's not necessarily Hunter Biden. It's Joe Biden's ties to his business dealings. So do you think by you testifying that it would change the story?
So if I testify in front of a grand jury, there are two things can happen. Because I have a little bit of experience with grand juries. I used to be a stenographer listening to grand juries. I used to do transcription for the Lewinsky grand juries. I go back that far with stenographers. Two things can happen. One, what I say is evidence. So my testimony would be evidence. But I can also point them to other witnesses they can call into. Because a grand jury is an investigative tool. And if I went in there, I would tell them to have Barack Obama called in as a witness because he's part of the conspiracy.
Whoa.
He's an ex-president. He has to answer who was in charge of this, putting Joe Biden into this role. Did Barack Obama know about it? Because there's evidence I've seen and put in my Substack on April 16th. So 2 days before Hunter joins, Joe Biden is with Hunter in the West Wing. They have a meeting. And then later that day, in the evening, Joe Biden spends a day in the limousine, in the back of Barack Obama's limousine in Western Pennsylvania.
Mike, we reached out to the White House for a statement, but did not hear back. Something tells me we have not heard the end of your story. Keep us posted. Mike McCormick, thank you, sir.
Thanks, Mike.
This is crazy. This man straight up just said that they need to bring Barack Obama in front of a grand jury. And they should absolutely do it, folks. Absolutely. This is the time when Republicans need to bring that man in front of a grand jury. An eye for an eye. Okay, Democrats have declared war on this nation. Democrats have declared war. And it is time Republicans grow some balls and bring Barack Obama in front of a grand jury. Enough of this guy. These people get away with everything. They get away with everything. Where is Barack Obama? Where is he at? What kind of stuff did this man witness Joe Biden doing? Was Joe Biden or was Barack Obama getting a kickback too from these money laundering schemes or these corrupt business deals that Hunter Biden was making? Folks, Every time you see Joe Biden on Air Force 2 or Air Force 1, there's Hunter Biden in the background, shaking hands with different foreign leaders, and he's doing his corrupt things all over the world. He has been for years. And I'm sorry, folks, but it's time these people get brought to justice. Democrats want to talk about how nobody's above the law, but yet they allow these people to openly commit crimes. When you have eyewitnesses, testimony, business partners, bank records, phone calls, emails, photos, videos, what else do you need? How can they honestly sit there and say that Joe Biden has nothing to do with Hunter Biden's business deals? We knew this the entire time, but how are these people going to deny this anymore? Other than just flat out just denying it. I actually have already started seeing the comments on Twitter where these people are saying, yeah, well, you can't prove it. Joe Biden's name isn't on any of this stuff, so he's not going to get in trouble. And as far as I can see, he didn't commit a crime. So get that, folks. We went from 6 months ago to this laptop, or a year and a half ago to this laptop being Russian disinformation, all the way to, oh, well, Joe Biden might have done it, but you can't prove it. Like, this is crazy, folks. Enough is enough. An eye for an eye. Republicans, district attorneys, and attorneys general, all in these red states, need to bring these people to justice. Start throwing indictments. Just start indicting Democrats. If you're listening to this show, if somehow by the grace of God, this show comes across your ears, you guys need to scour your law books in your states, and you need to start indicting Democrats. Okay? This is war, folks. This is an eye for an eye. Enough is enough, man. How do these people keep getting away with these crimes, man? You know, we witnessed this with Hillary Clinton. And then you're going to sit here and you're going to try and jail our leading presidential candidate? No. This is the game the Democrats want to play. It's time Republicans start playing the game too. So I got an article here from Fox News. Hat tip to Bailey Hill. It's dated for today. And it says McCormick, who worked with Biden from 2011 to 2017, detailed a key dialogue involving the vice president. Aide Jake Sullivan and the press on Air Force 2 detailed a key dialogue involving the vice president, aide Jake Sullivan, and the press on Air Force 2 before a trip to Kiev, Ukraine on April 21st, 2014. Sullivan, who is the current national security advisor, outlined in a White House transcript Biden's priorities for his trip to the country, which included U.S. investment in the Ukrainian energy sector days after Hunter joined the board of Burisma, according to the New York Post. Months later, and well after the trip, Congress allocated $50 million to Ukraine's energy market. How about that, folks? Hunter Biden goes to Ukraine, shakes a couple hands and makes a deal, gets on the board of a corrupt gas company, and then days later, the American taxpayer is sending $50 million over to that company. This is unacceptable, folks. Unacceptable. Okay? And then not only that, but you have Joe Biden bragging. When a prosecutor starts investigating this crap, you have Joe Biden on stage talking about how he leveraged tax dollars against Ukraine to fire a prosecutor that was investigating his son. I have a piece of audio here that I think you need to hear of Senator Ted Cruz questioning Sullivan. It's a little long, but you guys have to hear the entire thing. It's absolutely great. And hat tip goes out to the guy that made this video. I got to give him a hat tip because it's great. Let me see where it's at here. Hang on. And hat tip goes out to Renzo Rants. I got this video on Rumble, so he makes excellent videos. Check this guy out. His channel is called Renzo Rants. He cut a little bit out of the beginning, which I think was actually a pretty good lead up to the entire conversation. But you guys have to hear this and listen to this Democrat try to break this conversation up. She does not want to hear the answer.
So the Ukrainian oligarch who owned Burisma, there was very substantial evidence of corruption on his part. And he named Hunter Biden to his board of directors. To your knowledge, does Hunter Biden speak Ukrainian?
I've never talked to Hunter Biden, no.
To your knowledge, did he have any knowledge before serving on that board about anything concerning oil or natural gas?
I'm not aware of his CV.
To your knowledge, did Hunter Biden have any qualification whatsoever for that board job other than the fact that his daddy was the sitting vice president at the time?
Senator, no one consulted me about who was on the board of Burisma. There was another American, Kofor Black, who was a former...
Okay, I asked a question. To your knowledge, did Hunter Biden have any qualification to be on that board other than the job his daddy had at the moment?
I am not familiar with his resume, sir.
Okay. He was paid $83,000 a month by this Ukrainian oligarch. You're an expert in Ukraine. Have you ever been paid $83,000 a month?
I'm a public servant, sir. I've never served on a corporate board.
So does that mean no, you haven't been paid $83,000 a month?
I have not been paid $83,000 a month. No, sir.
So, look, the concern here is not Hunter Biden's own problems, but rather it is official corruption from the then Vice President of the United States, Joe Biden, and now the President of the United States, Joe Biden. Let me ask you, while his son was on the board of Burisma making $1 million a year, did Joe Biden do anything that benefited the corrupt oligarch who was paying his son?
Vice President Biden led our efforts to fight corruption in Ukraine.
Let me ask you the question again. Did Vice President Joe Biden do anything that benefited the corrupt oligarch who was paying his son $1 million a year?
He did not.
He did not. Well, it's interesting. Someone who disagrees with you, Mr. Kent, is Joe Biden. He said on January 23rd, 2018 at the Council of Foreign Relations.
I went over, I guess, the 12th, 13th time to Kyiv, and I was supposed to announce that there was another $1 billion loan guarantee. And I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor.
The prosecutor that was investigating Burisma.
So they said they were walking out to press conference. I said, no, I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting $1 billion. I said, you're not getting $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here. And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Oh, son of a bitch. Got fired.
Let me ask you something. Do you think Joe Biden holding $1 billion hostage to force the Ukrainian government to fire the prosecutor that is investigating the corrupt oligarch who's paying his son $1 million a year, did getting that prosecutor fired benefit that oligarch?
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Senator Van Hollen.
Are you going to allow him to answer the question, Madam Chairman?
I am not going to allow him to answer the question.
Why are you covering for the Vice President? Do you not want him to answer that question? He said that the Vice President has nothing to benefit the oligarch.
I think it's unfortunate for you, Senator Cruz, to put in position that are uncomfortable the nominees to be our ambassadors.
Okay, this is his sworn testimony. This is his sworn testimony. I understand that you want to cover for the Vice President.
That he is going to raise those concerns anytime.
Was his testimony true or false that Biden did nothing to benefit the oligarch?
I don't know.
Let him answer the question. Why are you afraid of him answering the question?
I'm not. I just want to move on.
But you won't let him answer. I asked a yes-no question. Will you allow him to answer the yes-no question?
Yes, you can answer yes or no. Thank you.
The prosecutor who was fired by the Ukrainian parliament did nothing to investigate Zlochevsky, and everything that Vice President Biden, the State Department, and the U.S. Embassy did acted in good faith to reduce corruption and help the Ukrainian people.
So firing him did not benefit the oligarch.
Thank you, Senator Cruz. Senator Van Hollen.
You're protecting the president well.
Thank you.
Wow, folks. Just wow. That was an answer. It is a shame that corrupt Democrat up there on the stage. I wish you guys could have seen the video, and this wasn't just an audio-only podcast, but if you could have seen her face up on that stand, she was like a panicked Karen whenever Ted Cruz was asking him this question. And it's a shame because it just gave the guy just a little bit of time to come up with that pre-studied answer to that question, almost as if he knew the question was going to be asked. And also, if you look at his face, he was looking at the woman that interjected. He was hoping she was going to step in and give him a little extra time. Folks, these testimonies, these sworn testimonies in these congressional hearings are absolutely the most corrupt group of actors. It's like a play. and it's all choreographed and it's all orchestrated. They know what their answers are going to be. They know what the questions are going to be, and they make eye contact to one another, especially in this case. If you guys have a chance, go visit this guy's page on Rumble, Renzo Rants, and you could see the video for yourself. This quid pro quo actually came up before the 2020 election. And once again, the media did not want to cover it, was bailing water for the Biden administration. And that is exactly what happened. So back to the article to kind of piece this together. I want this to be crystal clear for everybody out there listening. Hunter joined the board of Ukrainian natural gas firm on April 18th, just 3 days before the Biden and his team traveled to Kiev. But the critical piece of the puzzle was not made public until May 12th. McCormick argued the timeline of the events suggests that Biden funneled American money overseas to, quote, enrich himself and his family, and used his own influence to aid his son's rookie energy career. The former stenographer made it clear he wants to present the information under oath before the grand jury in Delaware probing Hunter's business dealings, which is led by U.S. Attorney Davis Weiss. Ladies and gentlemen, this grand jury has been up for 3 years. Okay, how long was Donald Trump's grand jury up? I don't know, 6 months? And here they got an indictment on a former president with no evidence, with no witnesses. Their only witnesses are Stormy Daniels and Cohen. Folks, it is clear as day. It is undeniable at this point. These people can no longer hide this. There is clear and obvious corruption and schemes going on in the Biden administration, in the White House, during the Obama administration, while Joe Biden and his son and his entire family, Jim Biden and the rest of them, would all go to these countries and make deals and use their father, Joe Biden, as the influencer. And it is just a shame. It is a shame. We cannot get a special counsel into this. Why is there not a special counsel into this? That is unbelievable to me. How we can have all this evidence, eyewitnesses, testimony, business partners, photographs, metadata, photos, videos, contacts, messages, emails, laptops, and hard drives, all this stuff. I mean, they don't even have any eyewitnesses to Donald Trump. And yet they're indicting the guy. It is just so clear and obvious we have a two-tier justice system. And people need to be outraged that there's no special counsel on this situation right here. Remember when everybody said they impeached Donald Trump for a quid pro quo? Withholding aid to Ukraine is what they accused him of. Okay, we all know that's BS because he released the transcripts. He was not withholding aid as a quid pro quo. Joe Biden was leveraging $1 billion in taxpayer money unless the Ukrainian government fired this prosecutor that was investigating his son. This is disgusting, folks. This is corruption out and out. It does not get any more clear than this. And people need to demand a special counsel. People need to call their representatives. They need to call their state leaders, and they need to demand a special counsel into this. This is a disgrace. We should not be leaving it up to the blue state of Delaware's attorney general or district attorney to have this grand jury for 3 years now. What is the wait? Why do all these things take so much time when it's on the Democrat side? But yet for Donald Trump, they stop the entire world. Everything must stop until Donald Trump gets indicted. It's unbelievable, folks. Okay, so the article continues. Hunter has been under a federal investigation since 2018 for suspected tax and foreign lobbying violations. The probe into Hunter's alleged violations began after suspicious activity reports, the SARS reports, regarding suspicious foreign transactions were flagged. Those SARS involved money funneled from China and other foreign nations, according to sources familiar with the probe. And although reports suggested that the investigation is approaching a critical juncture, Republican subpoena power is likely to accelerate the investigation. Quote, if David Weiss can't have me in front of his grand jury explaining what I know as a witness, that's a fraudulent grand jury. Yes, absolutely it is. There should be no reason why this district attorney does not want this man as an eyewitness giving his sworn testimony under oath, saying, I seen Joe Biden commit a crime. You have Joe Biden on stage. He's admitting it on stage on live television. That freaking moron. The old fool was on stage admitting it to the entire world. This is how arrogant these people are. These people have been doing this for decades, and they think they can just get away with it. And they can, because we have a media, a leftist Pravda, Soviet Union media that does not want to report on this. There's only, when you look this up, this is what I want you to do. I want you to Google Mike McCormick, and you will see two media outlets that have covered this. Okay? You have Fox News, and you have some other media outlet. I forget who it is. Oh, the New York Post. That's it. So the New York Post and Fox News are the only ones reporting on this. All the other medias have not, it hasn't even crossed their lips. So let's go ahead and let's finish up the article here. I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about the troops in Ukraine, because that's another important thing. So we got to finish this up. Biden has repeatedly claimed he has not spoken to his son regarding his overseas business dealings. I have an audio clip for that. Let's see about this.
Mr. Vice President, how many times have you ever spoken to your son about his overseas business dealings?
I've never spoken to my son about his overseas business dealings.
And so how do you know?
Here's what I know. I know Trump deserves to be investigated. He is violating every basic norm of a president. You should be asking him the question, why is he on the phone with a foreign leader, trying to intimidate a foreign leader, if that's what happened? That appears what happened. You should be looking at Trump. Trump's doing this because he knows I'll beat him like a drum. And he's using the abuse of power and every element of the presidency to try to do something to smear me. Everybody looked at this, and everybody's looked at it and said there's nothing there. Ask the right question.
Okay, but if you never spoke.
Can you believe the arrogance of this guy? Ask the right questions. Everybody that has looked at this has said there's nothing there. Well, guess what, folks? There is something there, and they're still not even asking questions. So it's not about asking questions. It's about having a corrupt media. That's exactly what it is. We have our United States government, our politics is infested with corruption right now. The swamp is so deep, it is overflowing. And not to mention, you see how this guy, how he diverts everybody to Donald Trump? That's what these people do, man. Donald Trump is their boogeyman. That is exactly what they're trying to do for the 2024 election. And what sucks is everybody's Trump derangement syndrome, it actually works. Because everybody has Trump derangement syndrome, and they cannot stop obsessing over Donald Trump. Every time these people do something corrupt, Donald Trump is right there for them to divert to. And Donald Trump is right there to deflect all the questions. You've seen it right there, how he said it. And it's just a shame that we only have two media outlets that are reporting on this. And you know what, folks? If there's no special counsel into Joe Biden and this corruption in his family, then what are we doing here? If there's no special counsel, then it is clear and obvious the rule of law in this country is dead. It is dead. It is gone. So this has to be the top priority for Republicans in the House. It has to be. It absolutely has to be. And you notice how in that audio clip he says, I never talked to my son about any of his business deals. Folks, how is that possible? Now we know that all of Hunter Biden's business partners visited the White House when Joe Biden was vice president 80 times. That was another story that came out 4 days ago that the media hasn't touched. So when they used to say to Donald Trump, the walls are closing in, the walls are really closing in on Joe Biden. Okay? That is absolutely true. And even the Biden supporters know it. Because they can't even deny it anymore. You can't deny this stuff, folks. This is facts. You cannot deny the facts. You have eyewitnesses and business partners that are saying they were there. They seen it with their own eyes. And they're willing to go under oath to testify against it. And Tony Bobulinski, you guys remember when he first came out weeks before the 2020 election, and he said that basically Hunter Biden or Joe Biden was the big guy. And he knows that he knows that Joe Biden's the big guy because that's how they used to refer him as. So you have a business partner, multiple business partners now, and you have an eyewitness, an Obama-era stenographer, typed out in the transcripts, the White House transcripts, Joe Biden and this guy Sullivan committing a crime. against Ukraine. So get that, folks. This is why people don't trust this war in Ukraine right now. This is why people do not like the idea of the United States of America sending billions and billions and billions of their dollars over to Ukraine because of stuff just like this. So you had Joe Biden leverage taxpayer dollars over Ukraine, and not even that, aid. Remember, they tried they impeached Donald Trump for withholding aid. What was this, folks? What was this? You leveraged $1 billion unless they fired the prosecutor that was investigating the son he was making money on. This is how disgustingly corrupt this family is, man. It is so disgusting. These people are so corrupt, man. It is mind-boggling how there has not been investigations into this. You have, like I said, you have a prosecutor, or you have a DA in Delaware that's had a grand jury open for 3 years. You have Joe Biden has classified documents all over Delaware, in his garage next to his Corvette, in his other homes, his other mansions in Delaware. Okay? Nothing happens. Okay? You have a special counsel into that matter. And trust me, folks, everybody knows that Merrick Garland was going to indict Donald Trump on that records, on the classified documents thing in Mar-a-Lago. And he was getting ready to do it until classified documents showed up for Joe Biden. I want to know who was it that initially found the documents, the classified documents of Joe Biden. Who actually found it? If I'm not mistaken, it was one of Joe Biden's attorneys. What, does he always have lawyers just going through his garage, going through documents? It's so crazy, folks. All this is just so obviously corrupt now. You cannot even deny it anymore. So, but they're certainly going to try. Starting Monday, so this dropped on Friday, so starting Monday, they're working on the talking points right now. And so all the Democrats, you won't hear any Democrat talk about it this weekend on Twitter, on any social media platform. They will not comment on this until they get their talking points on Monday. Until the morning blow schmo goes on, when those two idiots get on their show on Monday and they give out the Biden's talking points. Only then will you start to hear Democrats debating on this issue, and they will repeat exactly what they hear on the news. It is so bizarre. And I have to tell you, folks, the Trump derangement syndrome has really, really hurt this country really bad. Because if it was not for Donald Trump, and this is one of the things that drives me crazy, and I was actually thinking today, well, I'll tell you in a second, if it was not for Donald Trump and these people's obsession with him, this stuff would not be happening. This is clear and obvious corruption that the people would be demanding investigations into. Any other time, like I said, when I was a Democrat, we used to be all about speak truth to power. You know, we used to be about anti-government corruption and all that stuff, the rage against the machine, all of it. And now the Democrats are raging for the machine. Okay, they are the machine now. The establishment is the machine. And they have all their little Bolsheviks out there doing the dirty work, repeating their propaganda. They give them the talking points for the day, and then that's what they run with. It is really bizarre. So I was thinking today, what if Donald Trump changed his name? What if just out of nowhere, Donald Trump changed his name to like Smith or, you know, something crazy, just an average name? What would happen? I'm curious as to what would happen if Donald Trump changed his name. I'm telling you, these people are so deranged in their minds. They're so emotionally and psychologically broken from Donald Trump. That name alone infuriates these people. It puts them in a state of panic. It puts them in a state of paranoia when they hear the word Trump. So it makes me wonder, what if Donald Trump changed his name to like Smith or Johnson or something like that? It's just, you know, it's one of those things I think about, one of the corny things I think about. I try to think of these deep solutions to these problems. So I try and break things down to their simplest form, and then I try and come up with a solution for it. So the only solution I can think of to get rid of Trump derangement syndrome is just get rid of the name Trump. And then what are they going to have? Jack derangement syndrome? I don't think Jack would be as infuriating as Trump. I'm telling you, because you never hear the name Trump. Nobody has the name Trump. So it's like his name is so unique. It's actually become like a kryptonite to him. His own name has become his worst enemy. It's crazy to think about. it would all be different. You know, people would be talking about, so yeah, did you hear what Donald Smith said today on Truth Social? Yeah, it's so crazy. Think about it, folks. I think it may be a good strategy. I don't know. I'm just saying, maybe. And by the time the media built enough narratives and brainwashed these people enough for them to hate the last name Donald Smith, I don't know if they could hate the last name Smith, because there's just no other people named Trump out there, folks. So it's an extremely unique name, and when people hear it, they go insane. So what if he would just change his name to Smith? I don't know. Maybe he should try it. It's just something that I think about. One of those weird things that I think about during the day when I try and break these things down to their basic fundamental, to their condensed form. So I have another article here about yesterday's show. I was reading the article, and I don't know how it happened, but somehow it passed me when I was doing the show yesterday. I usually read the articles. I pre-read the articles to just kind of get warmed up to the subject. And I'm always reading the news anyways. But somehow, some way, this particular part passed me when I was reading this. So everybody is completely diverted with this document leak. You know, there's the story that came out today. They actually arrested the guy that leaked the documents, the highly classified documents, from the Pentagon, the military documents. And I haven't heard anybody really make this point yet. The leaked documents is not the story, folks. It's what's in the documents is the story. Okay, when I was reading the story yesterday, I got to a point to where I remember reading where it said the U.S. troops in Ukraine. And something didn't register, but I knew something wasn't right when I read that. But so I just finished the show. Well, after the show, I started thinking, I'm like, wait a minute. Did I just read that those documents were suggesting that there was U.S. troops in Ukraine? Yes, folks. Yes. And here it is. The media is trying to get you to focus on the leaker instead of focusing on what's in the documents. It is so bizarre. And Joe Biden and his son Hunter Biden are in Ireland right now. And Joe Biden comes out and acts like this isn't a big deal, like there was no damaging information in these documents. Folks, if there is U.S. troops in Ukraine, that's a big freaking deal, okay? There is not supposed to be troops in Ukraine. So I found this article, and this is another thing the media is not reporting on. Okay, the military-industrial complex is trying to pull a fast one on the Americans again. This Biden administration and this Pentagon and the military-industrial complex is not being honest with the people. So I have an article here from Newsweek, one of the few outlets, and it actually came out today, April 14th at 8:11 this morning. A trove of leaked classified documents from the Defense Department suggests that more than a dozen American troops have been operating in Ukraine. The leaked U.S. intelligence documents about the war in Ukraine and other national security issues were found online on a social messaging platform called Discord, which is popular with gamers. One of the documents showed that the U.S. is among a number of nations with military special forces deployed in Ukraine, the British newspaper The Guardian reported. Hundreds of pages of sensitive government documents were found online last month in a Discord chat room of about 24 teenagers called Thug Shaker Central. The chat group's leader was likely Jack Teixeira. I can't pronounce this name. Everyone seems to be pronouncing it some other way. And it's Teixeira. So maybe I'm just not pronouncing it right. The chat group's leader was likely Jack Teixeira, a 21-year-old member of the Massachusetts Air National Guard's intelligence wing, who was arrested on Thursday in connection with the leak. The Pentagon has called the leak of sensitive files as a deliberate criminal act. It's unclear how long the classified files had been circulating online prior to discovery. One of the leaked files reviewed by The Guardian that appears to be dated March 2023 suggests U.S. officials assessed at the time that there were 97 special forces from NATO countries operating in Ukraine, including 14 U.S. special forces. Boom, folks. This administration and this Pentagon is lying to Congress about having troops in Ukraine. We are not supposed to have troops in Ukraine. I don't care whether you're for the war or you're not for the war. It doesn't matter. The point is your government is lying to you again. Again, these people are lying to you about another frickin' war, man. How many times are people going to fall for this stuff, man? And so here we are with 14 special forces operations going on in Ukraine. This is what I'm talking about, folks. This administration is getting us into war. And not only is it slow walking us into war, but it's lying to the American people. I've been saying this from day one. If we're going to go to war, then go to war. Wipe Russia off the face of the earth. Enough of this proxy war stuff, man. Because all it does is just hemorrhage the American tax dollars. It hemorrhages the American ammunitions. And it hemorrhages people's support. So if you want to do this, then just do it. You know, it doesn't have to be this 20, 30-year long war again. And what's crazy is we haven't won a war since World War II, folks. I mean, we keep doing these things like Vietnam was the same incident with the Pentagon Papers. These people lied to the Americans in Vietnam. We were in Afghanistan and Iraq for 20 years in the last war. And what did we get out of it? We had a president that came in and turned a withdrawal that was supposed to be neat and organized, completely ignoring what his generals and his lead military intel officers were saying, and he did it anyways, and he did it completely for optics, because he wanted these people out on 9/11, just to make it look good. And it was a complete disaster, and it got 13 people killed. So that's what Americans got for their money, was $80 billion worth of equipment left in Iran or left in Afghanistan. Mind you, Humvees, aircrafts, hundreds of thousands of small arms and weapons and ammunition. And this is the worst thing of all. You want to know probably the worst thing. Over the Humvees, over the M4 platforms, over all the machine guns and the choppers and all the ammunition that was lost in Afghanistan that the Biden administration essentially gave to the Taliban. The worst thing of all that the Taliban got their hands on was night vision goggles. The Taliban now has 20,000 pairs of night vision goggles. Ladies and gentlemen, that was our one tactic that the United States military had. They didn't have night vision goggles. The United States military owns the night. That's what made us so deadly. That's what made us the most deadliest fighting force in the world, was our ability to fight battles at night. And the Biden administration just gave the enemy 20,000 pairs of night vision goggles. And you better believe in some time down the road that all these weapons and all this ammunition that the Biden administration essentially gave the Taliban is probably going to be used against our own soldiers when we have to go back there and wipe these people off the face of the earth again. This is getting out of control, folks. The level of failure in this administration is getting out of control. The Biden administration is a threat to our national security. This administration and its epic incompetency is going to get people killed. And it's already getting people killed. But it's going to hurt people in this country really bad. This administration is a complete disaster on every levels. And every time one of these things pops up, every failure that comes out of the Biden administration, all I can hear in the back of my head were these stupid people saying anything's better than Trump. Anything's better than Trump. No, folks. This certainly isn't better than Trump. This, my friends, is a complete disaster. And so now you guys know the truth. You heard it here. And I'm going to try and release this show on Saturday so you guys have it on the weekend. I'm going to try and capitalize on the weekends. All my fellow conservative hosts and radio hosts and podcasters, they don't really put out episodes or content on the weekends. So I think that's where I'm going to try and do my best shows, is on the weekend. I'm going to try and put as much content out on the weekend, even though I work, but I'm going to try and do as much as I can on the weekends for you guys, so you guys have something to listen to on the weekend. I know my fellow middle-class working people out there, I know you guys work on the weekends, so I know you guys are going to want something to listen to. You work on the weekends like me. So I don't work all weekend. I don't work on Sundays, but I know a lot of people work on Saturdays. So I'm going to try and get you guys out some content on Saturdays and Sundays, and obviously through the week. I'm just going to keep putting stuff out nonstop, folks, nonstop. I'm going to try and do as much as I can. And I have been trying to do as much as I can. It just takes a lot of time to find all this stuff and do the research and read it and prep the show, record it, edit it, all that stuff. It takes a lot of time. So I just hope you guys got the message today that the Biden administration will go down as the worst administration in U.S. history ever. This is the most consequential presidential administration this country has ever seen. It is the most authoritarian. It is the most totalitarian. It is the most Marxist, leftist, radical administration we have ever seen. And it is being ran by somebody that should be in a nursing home. And another thing people need to be demanding, talking to your representatives about, is I want a cognitive test from Joe Biden. That's what I want. They forced Donald Trump to take a cognitive test. They kept bugging him. Where's his cognitive test? He should take this. He's not mentally fit to be president. And here we got this guy that stumbles around like he's a patient in a nursing home, and he refuses to take a cognitive test. The man refuses to even do a formal press briefing. He was asked again the other day. Karine Jean-Pierre was asked the other day by leftist media outlets, CNN and MSNBC, where is Joe Biden and why is he not giving a formal press briefing? It has been months. Where is this guy? Why is he not doing press briefings? That's because, folks, he can't. They are afraid he is going to mess up. He is a gaffe machine. If you've seen him in Ireland, he said something about licking the country. So this is what I'm talking about. And what is so bizarre is the White House will get on Twitter and talk about how great Joe Biden is as a president, how he's done more for the American people than any other president. It is so bizarre. It is like we are living right inside the novel of George Orwell's 1984. In fact, I was actually doing a comparison between the novel, the 1984 novel, and the Democrat Party. And ladies and gentlemen, there is some wild ass similarities. So I think I'm probably going to I might do a segment on that coming up about the correlations between the Democrat Party and George Orwell's 1984. It is bizarrely similar. It is wildly similar, man, to that book. It is so crazy, some of the stuff that they've done and they're doing right now. This stuff is on purpose, folks. The stuff we're watching right now, this is on purpose. They are purposely trying to destroy this country. It's the degrowth movement. That's exactly what it is. This is the degrowth movement. They are trying to destroy this country so that they can rebuild from the ashes their own perfect little Marxist utopia. That is exactly what they're doing. There is no other reason behind it. How can you sit here and say that they're not purposely trying to destroy this place? Okay, they are doing everything one would do to destroy a country. You're destroying the economy. You're destroying the currency. You're destroying our allies and our place and our power on the world stage. You're destroying our military. You're destroying our culture. You're destroying our religion. You're destroying our freedom and liberties and freedom of speech and the Second Amendments and the Bill of Rights. Like, ladies and gentlemen, the list goes on and on and on that this administration is doing wrong. So it can't be on accident. I mean, even a broken clock is right twice a day, folks. So this stuff is absolutely being done on purpose. So to kind of summarize the show, I think the entire Biden corruption, the Biden Inc., is in serious trouble with this one, folks. And you can tell because the media is not talking about it. They're not even trying to come up with the narrative. There is no other narrative, folks. What are they going to say? You have an eyewitness to the entire thing. A stenographer, a public official that was being paid to type down everything these people were saying. And these people committed a crime right in front of them with the stuff they were talking about, with getting kickbacks. And then also people need to demand the tax income, the tax records for Joe Biden and Joe Biden's S corporations. We need those S corp tax returns, baby. That's what we need. People need to be, I want to see, I can't believe people haven't been asking for these. I want these S corp tax returns. That's what I want. I think all this money is being funneled in through some kind of side corporation. It is obvious that is their game plan, is they start these LLCs and then they funnel all this money through these limited liability corporations. Okay, so that is, I mean, obviously that is the name of the game. So we should have records of every LLC Biden has ever started, Hunter Biden and Joe Biden. And we already know that there was an LLC that had bank accounts linked to China. China was paying Rob Walker. Okay, they paid Rob Walker's LLC like $3 million, and then Rob Walker made payments to Hunter Biden, Jim Biden, Haley Biden, and a fourth name labeled just Biden. So there is obviously some shenanigans going on here, folks. There is corruption, and we need to see tax returns. Why aren't Joe Biden's tax returns leaking? Why aren't people leaking Joe Biden's tax returns? Remember they leaked Donald Trump's tax returns? Why is there no leaks in this administration? That's what I want to know. The only leaks that we got was some kid, some 21-year-old kid on Discord who leaked intelligence documents. Not exactly the stuff that, not exactly the stuff we need, and not really even the stuff that we want to know. I get why a country cannot operate, folks, if it does not have some sort of classification system. But the thing is everybody knows that the United States government overclassifies stuff. So 50% of the stuff it classifies, it doesn't need to. But, I mean, this kid released some pretty serious stuff. But you know what? At least the American people know that we have U.S. troops in Ukraine now. So why are they even hiding it? They might as well just send them the F-22 Raptors. They might as well just send them the army and just wipe Russia off the map. I'll tell you why, folks, is because China is also helping Russia a lot more than they're making people think. Okay, that was another thing that was in the documents. China is helping Russia as far as lethal aid a lot more than what they are leading the American people off with. China is sending Russia a whole crap ton of stuff. Okay, so I think that's why this Biden administration is stuck now. What's crazy to me, folks, is it just seems like this war is screaming for diplomacy right now. I mean, this war is just begging for someone to go in there and make a deal. And it's just so bizarre how our country is not even trying. They're not even trying to negotiate anything. There is no diplomacy happening right now, folks. It's just war, more war, send more money, send more ammo, send more money, send more ammo, send troops, but don't tell the American people. I want to see how the Biden administration is going to get out of this one. How are you sending American troops? And listen, I get sending mercenaries. I get sending government contractors. I know we've been doing that from the very beginning. I guarantee we've been sending hundreds of government contractors, mercenaries, essentially. Places like Blackwater, which Blackwater doesn't exist anymore, but you get the point. Places like that, we've probably been sending over there since day one, but now we're sending American troops, special forces units. We got issues, folks. This is a big deal. Whether you support the war or not, you're still being lied to. And so this is what bothers me about the Republicans that are all in on taking on Russia through Ukraine, essentially. It doesn't make sense to me. If you want to defeat Russia, then just defeat Russia. What is the big deal? Like I just don't, this game that they play, oh, well, we're gonna kick your ass, but we're gonna do it through Ukraine. So we're just gonna hemorrhage all our money and ammunition to Ukraine so Ukraine can kick your ass. Why don't we just kick Russia's ass? That's because China's helping, folks, and the Biden administration and the Pentagon knows that Russia and China would be a formidable foe. And I'm telling you right now, and just like I've said this from the very beginning, that, my friends, would mean World War III. So, okay, guys, that's all I have for tonight. I hope it was a good show. I kind of did this last minute. I wasn't prepared for anything. I did not write anything down. I made no notes. Everything came right off the top of my head. I pulled a couple audio clips, but that is it. I did everything right off the top of my head, so I hope it makes sense. I kind of feel like I was all over the place, and so I just hope it made sense. The message is out there now, and you heard it here, folks. We have U.S. troops in Ukraine. And Joe Biden has a huge problem because now there's an eyewitness that actually seen him commit a crime. and is willing to go under oath to testify against him. That's a big deal, folks. That's a big deal. It's going to be a pretty interesting week this week, and we are not even close to the election time yet. It is about to get wild. Another thing that I was reading, I want to give this to you real quick. This is something I was working on before I was even doing the show. I was kind of doing this on the side. So people are talking about, you'll hear the left-wing media talking about how Jim Jordan can't be asking Alvin Bragg to come in to testify. So Jim Jordan sent a subpoena over to Alvin Bragg and Pomerantz to come in and do it and to testify under oath. What exactly is he doing? And the left-wing media is trying to tell their listeners, they're trying to brainwash them with propaganda saying, oh, Jim Jordan has absolutely no right to do that. The House has no oversight to do that whatsoever. Well, I beg to differ, my friends. Because if you remember, Alvin Bragg said that there were actually funds that were used. There were actually federal funds that were used as part of the investigation that led to the indictment. So that's one avenue Jim Jordan has for a legitimate reason to ask for a subpoena. But there's also another one. So Andy Biggs and a couple other House members got together and they put forth this bill that will essentially keep state DAs from persecuting presidential candidates. And so I was like, well, that's weird. I mean, that's kind of late, don't you think? However, folks, they did it for a reason. And this is the reason right here. I was trying to figure out what reason, why would they do that? Why would they put up a bill now trying to keep future DAs from persecuting presidents? Just sounded like it was a little late to me. However, there's a plan. I have the United States Constitution here. And under Article 1, Section 8, Clause 18, here is a section here. While Congress's investigative tools can be used to achieve a number of different purposes, congressional practice suggests that legislative inquiries primarily serve to either gather information valuable for considering and producing legislation, or to ensure that existing laws are being properly administered. So there you go, folks. That is the reason why the House put up a bill essentially keeping district attorneys in the future from persecuting presidential candidates. And the only way that they're going to have legitimate oversight over the situation is if they're trying to gather information to put forth that bill, essentially trying to figure out what they need to do in order to make the bill sufficient enough. They're going to have to question district attorneys, and they're going to have to question Alvin Bragg. So that's how they were able to get that subpoena through, and that is why they actually do have legit reasons to subpoena Alvin Bragg, and that is why you will see Alvin Bragg and Pomerantz in front of Jim Jordan. So I thought I would just share that with you. I wanted to go in a little bit deeper with you, but it didn't really require all that much, but I was definitely curious as to why they were introducing a bill now when I thought it seemed like it was a little late, but there is a strategy that they are doing, folks. So let's read that again. While Congress's investigative tools can be used to achieve a number of different purposes, congressional practice suggests that legislative inquiries primarily serve to either gather information valuable for considering and producing legislation. And that is how Jim Jordan and the Republicans have every right to call Alvin Bragg up for questioning, because they got to get information for their new bill, folks, right? They need to figure out what to put in this bill and how to make sure it's effective. So they're going to have to get some information from Alvin Bragg. That's all. So I thought that was a neat little food for thought there for you guys to take home right at the end. I wasn't going to do it, but why not? Anyways, thank you guys for tuning into the show. I hope it sent a good message. Make sure you share the show with your friends and family. You're going to be able to find these shows on Rumble and, yes, YouTube, because I have to get the word out there, folks. The only way I'm going to get the word out there is if I put it on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the show on YouTube, and I'm going to start veering people over to Rumble. Steven Crowder's doing it. They're all doing it. And Dan Bongino left YouTube completely and just went straight to Rumble. But he already had a huge following on Rumble, folks. So it's hard to get started on Rumble, and it takes a lot longer. But I definitely think it's going to be worth it in the end. So you are going to be able to find my videos on YouTube now we'll see. If they ban them, they ban them. That's what's going to happen. So I'll keep posting the YouTube until they ban them. Once they ban them, then I don't know. We'll just have to figure it out. But you guys can find the show definitely on Rumble. They're doing a great job. They're helping me out a lot. And the website's still going on. If you guys want to get a hold of me, you can get a hold of me at steventaurielloshow@gmail.com. You guys want to ask any questions? If you guys want to ask me questions, or you have anything you want me to see, like some information you want me to see, if you have any kind of intel on any kind of situations that are happening, you can send that to steventaurielloshow@gmail.com. I will read it. And if you have a real cool, if you got a real cool email, I will read it on the show. So I thought that would be kind of cool. And yeah, so make sure you share the show with your friends and family. And as always, I want you guys to have a good day, have a great week, and God bless you, and God bless America. You guys have a good day. Bye-bye.